Hello everyone, and welcome to today's session on how to create personalized experiences using the Azure Personalizer service. My name is Georgia, and I'll be hosting this session for you. So, little things about me. I am a Microsoft MVP in AI, a Microsoft Student Partner, and I work as a full-time web applications developer at ITT. I love blogging, traveling, and a lot of speaking engagements. So if you like Azure, AI, cognitive services, and similar topics, you can check out my blog, codestories.gr, and like our page, codestories.gr on Facebook. Or if you want, you can follow me on LinkedIn, GitHub, and Twitter for any news or upcoming sessions, and anything else. So today, I'm gonna make a full introduction on what is artificial intelligence and machine learning, what are the Microsoft Cognitive Services, APIs, and then we're gonna focus on what is the Personalizer service and its features, and we're also gonna see a live demo. And definitely we'll have a little time at the end for any questions or answers. So if you have any questions during the sessions, note them down and I'll try to answer as many as I can at the end. For this session, you don't need any previous knowledge of anything. We'll cover everything you need from start to finish. So what is artificial intelligence? We keep hearing about it. AI, or artificial intelligence, is any technology that mimics human behavior. It can learn, it can respond and understand natural human language, and it can help humans perform tasks. Artificial intelligence has several things that under it. First is machine learning. Machine learning is a subset of any AI technique that use statistics to enable machines to improve and learn by experience. And deep learning or neural networks is a subset of machine learning actually, which helps us do more complex computations and tasks. So let's see a little bit about machine learning. What is machine learning or ML we keep hearing about? Actually is the process of programming the unprogrammable. People see those four images, and what they can see is in the first ones, we can see faces, we can see other people. But on the bottom, we can see that they do not include any faces. And we can recognize that one is a monument, the other ones are fish, images of fish or an aquarium or something similar. So what machine learning does is try to emulate this exact behavior. When you feed it an image or any other kind of data, it tries to modelize this behavior and create a model that will help it make decisions in the future. There are three types of machine learning types. The first is supervised learning. Supervised learning is a technique where we have a large amount of data that we already know the predictions. So, for example, I have a movie database and I have the ratings, the user's preferences, and the movie ratings. And I am trying to build a model so when a new user comes in, I will use the data I already have in my database to try and predict the rating this new user will give to another movie. So I will have a large data set in this case. I would break it down to training and test data, and I will use the training data to teach my model how to behave in the future. So, and I even have the test data to validate my model and see that even if a new user comes in, the results I'm gonna get are valid. The second type is unsupervised learning. Unsupervised learning algorithms try to find patterns inside a lot of data without any previous parameterization or training. For example, clustering algorithms. I have a lot of data and I'm feeding it to the service, and the service tries to find groups of those data that, or things that records, let's say, that are similar. Okay, the third and most interesting in my opinion is reinforcement learning. Reinforcement learning tries to make the best decision possible for the user depending on the data and their parameters. This is used mostly in game theory or similar types, where, for example, if I have a map system, the map system tries to propose the best way to go from point A to point B, depending on whether I want to use tolls, if I want the fastest route, if I want the shortest route. It tries to suggest solutions that are better for me, depending on the parameters I give it. This is reinforcement learning. Azure Cognitive Services are what we say pre-built machine learning models. For example, this is a sentiment analysis example code where we have an API that we use to get results. So we can feed this phrase to the API, "This is a great vacuum cleaner," and the API would return that this probably is 96% positive sentiment. This is a happy statement. I don't know, for people who love vacuum cleaners, obviously. But this model has been built for us by Microsoft, has been trained with a lot of similar phrases, and all we have to do as developers is go use the parameters, hit the API, and get a sentiment analysis on this phrase. So we have not taken any part in the creation of this machine learning model. All I did was include an API to my application. So this is what Azure Cognitive Services do. They have pre-built machine learning models. Pre-built machine learning models are very good when you're just starting out and you need a fast or easy solution, or if your application does not have any extensive requirements that would require a custom machine learning model. So Azure Cognitive Services can cover a range of scenarios for simple AI-enabled apps. Of course, even for Azure Cognitive Services, there are several services that are customizable, and the user can create a model within the service. But as we can see today in Azure Personalizer service, it's pre-trained model with pre-trained algorithms, and all we have to do is give it some data, some rankings, and it will return our results. So it provides us a way to train our model without really knowing what algorithms and what happens in the background. I will provide the data and get my results back. So, as I said, this is what Microsoft Cognitive Services are. A set of ready-to-use APIs for every developer without requiring machine learning expertise. Today, there are several Microsoft Cognitive Services. This list keeps expanding and changing every few months. It's great to see that Microsoft has invested a lot in AI, and it's evolving its services, giving us developers a lot of portals and a lot of ways to do things easier without requiring building things from scratch. So one of those services is the Azure Personalizer service. The Azure Personalizer service is a cloud-based API service that enables your application to choose the best single item to show the user based on real-time information you provide about content and context. What this means, I have my application. My application could be anything. let's just say I have a news feed or news site, or I have an e-shop with a lot of products. I certainly have my data, which are the products, the news sites. Today we're going to see an example of how I will propose an article to my user. So I'm going to use the news site example. So any news site we have seen has several categories, okay? A lot of users have different preferences when you open a news site. Some are more interested in politics, others are more interested in athletics or social or nature or any kind of category you can think of, you can find in a news site. So every user has different preferences. So I will have to know my user preferences. For example, what time a day he logs in my site, how long does he or she usually spend on the site. I have this information about the user. Then I have some information about my articles. My articles belong in some categories and have several features. Those features can be anything from, I don't know, what category the article is in, tags that are used to characterize the articles, if there's a video in it, if it's a long, lengthy text article, and other features. If I had an e-shop, let's say, a feature on a product would be the color, the size, the category again. So I have two sets of things. I have the items, the actions, and I have the user preferences, the context. What I want to do what Azure Personalizer does is, by using all users and similar users, we're trying to suggest to the new user that has similar or different preferences the best item based on ranking. And based on if the user likes it or doesn't like it, it rewards the system with yes, I liked it, or no, I didn't like it. This is called the rank and reward cycle. And this is done collectively in real time from all users to suggest two items to my new user or an existing user that just logged in. Okay? Azure Personalizer is powered by reinforcement learning, as we saw before in the machine learning algorithm types. It tries to suggest the best possible item for you to read or choose or buy, depending on the context. So the Azure Personalizer service has several, let's say, requirements or limitations. You can rank up to 50 items. I know this might seem a little for a site or that has like thousands of products or something. There are ways to limit down the number. You have 250 items in order for the Personalizer service to rank them. Microsoft has there's actually an article in the docs on how to do this, how to make your choices down to 50 items so they can be used. The content must have action figures and content figures. So I would have to have the items. The items must have some features, and my user must have some preferences or features as well. So I will have to have information from both sides. In order for the service to be valid and respond with the best possible answer, there is a minimum 1,000 a day content events. Content event doesn't mean I need to have 1,000 users, but for example, if I have a news site, I should have 1,000, let's say, clicks from, I don't know, could be like 500 users that read 2 articles each. So 1,000 a day content event ensures that the rankings the service has are more accurate. As far as programming language SDK support goes, if you're not a .NET developer or don't use .NET technologies, don't worry. This is an API technology, so you can use it from pretty much everywhere, and there's SDK support in these 5 languages and in Java coming soon. But how much is this going to cost me? Well, so far it's free for 50,000 transactions per month and 10 gigabytes of quota storage. But if we go to the standard pricing, there's a different pricing from less than 1 million events and going lower the more you use the service per 1,000 transactions. As with any AI technology that requires me to upload my data to the cloud, the question I always get is what happens to my data? Is Microsoft going to get my data and use them for other purposes? As far as security and compliance goes, Azure has the most comprehensive compliance coverage in the industry. It covers European GDPR as far as data regulation goes. In the US, it has a lot of global certifications as well. Your data are yours to use, and the service doesn't keep them any more than it should. And as we can see later in the Azure Personalizer service, you can declare a retain period, data retain period. So you know how long those data are going to be retained in the service. So you have nothing to worry about. They're not used for any other purposes. They are in your tenant, used by you. So the only way someone can access your data is if you lose your keys or something like that. They are safe and nobody's going to use them for any other marketing or purposes. The service has been around from 2019 and has already 2 recognitions for the Industry Award for Excellence in Artificial Intelligence, and for already Strata Data Conference, it has taken the award for Most Innovative Product. So without any further ado, let's go see a live demo of the service. So to use the cognitive services, you would need to use the Azure the Azure Cognitive Services. You would need to have an Azure subscription. If you don't, you can still use try to open an Azure trial. It gives you 130, I think, dollars for a month to use and try any services that you want. So the only thing you have to do is put your credit card. The service is not gonna charge you for anything. It's only gonna the credit card is only to make sure that you're not a bot and that you are a valid person with no malicious purpose in mind. So at the end of the trial period, if you don't choose to convert it to a pay-as-you-go subscription, it will end. So if you want to test the service, you must either have an active Azure subscription or create an Azure trial. This is the Azure portal, the homepage. If you want to create a resource, you click Create a Resource. Let's go with Personalizer. There it goes. It gives us some information on the plans. You can go ahead and click Create. You'd have to give a name to the service. Let's say Cold Stories Personalizer. the subscription, the location, the pricing tier, and the resource group. Resource groups are used to manage your resources. They don't have any other significance, so don't worry a lot about it if you don't know what they are. So yes, this exists because I already have it, but once you fill in all the data, you can click create. I'm not going to because, as I said, it already exists. So I am going to go back home and find my resource. Let's go to the cold storage personalizer. It takes a few minutes for the service to deploy. As soon as it is deployed, this is what you will see. First of all, there's an overview. You can see the resource group, the status of the service, the subscription ID, and several other things. What you need to use this service in your code is the endpoints and the keys. And here on the left, we have several more options. There's a quick start. You can see some helpful links. Configuration of the service. Here is where you can set some actions. This is the reward wait time. This is how long the API will wait after we rank an item. Okay, so I will change that to 10 minutes. This is personalizer things to do. How many percent of rank calls are used for exploration? We'll explain what rank calls are a little bit later, so I'm gonna skip this one. Model update frequency. How often is my training model updated? Because what we do in the service, it actually trains a model behind the scenes. So what I've done here is 10 seconds, but you should put it in a few minutes. This is in order for the demo to work. And here you can see how long the logs are available and how many days should Personalizer retain log data if you want. So here you can do some configurations. You press save and that's it. There's learning behavior. We're going to go with this one. Return the best action and learn online for real-time results. This is part of the learning when you're firstly training the model, so we're going to skip it as well. Here we can see some settings. We can export the model or the learning settings we've created, or import learning settings that we've exported from another Azure subscription or something like that. We can also clear our data if we no longer wish to use the service. We can also create the evaluations for the service, so we can evaluate how valid and how efficient the service is in learning and the results it gives us. And the final thing we're going to see is the keys endpoint. This is the most important screen. Don't share your keys. Be very careful who you share your subscription with, because this is the only way to access the service. So if you lose them, you can regenerate them. But if you lose access to this service, or Azure or your subscription, you won't be able to, unless you've saved them somewhere else, you won't be able to get them again or restart the service. And there are several other things. You can change the pricing, networking. I'm not going to go into that right now. It's mostly Azure resources and configurations. It has nothing to do specifically with Personalizer. Most of this exists in every Azure service. So let's go see the code. This example has been adapted from the code samples already in Microsoft Docs. So what I've done here is I tried to create a personalized list using my articles from my blog. So what I do here, I'm going to explain things a little bit fast on what I am trying to accomplish. So I have the items. The items are my news articles, and I have some user features. For the sake of the demo, I get the user profession and the user preference, whether they like laptop stickers or not. So I have actually for profession, I give as an option to the user, and whether they like the laptop stickers or not, if they think they're cool or unprofessional. So I have the user preferences and I have the items. What I'm trying to do, I'm feeding the service a few a few items or actions. This is what I call the rankable actions. This is how they're called. And right now I have used link as an ID because it's faster. Of course, if you have a database and you have the articles in it and you access it, you would get the ID, and then you, depending on the result of the personalizer service, you would go retrieve the article and any of these features. So far in features, I didn't have a lot of data available, so I did the category and words because the tags are too many. Depending on what you're using, what is the business purpose of your application, features can vary, can be different, and can honestly be anything that you want. From, I don't know, if you're selling sneakers, it could be the color, the brand, size, style, etc. So if you're a restaurant and you have food or takeaway, it could be like calories, vegan, or with meat. So anything that can categorize your item is a feature, and we will declare it for the service to be able to do more accurate ranking. So I've declared several here for the user to choose. I had a lot actually, around 49, to test the efficiency of the service, but right now for demo purposes I've narrowed down to I think 8 or 9, because I don't want it to be a lot of hectic in the console for you guys to see. Okay, so I have the actions, they have features. What I need to do is get the user preferences. I have my API keys here ready and everything. I have initialized the personalizer client, and what is happening here is an iteration, is what we do, what I mentioned before, as a rank and a reward cycle. So what I do is I get the user features, which is the profession and the preference, and then I suggest an article to them. Okay, if they like it, I send to the service a reward of 1 because it was good, right? If they didn't, I will send back to the service a reward of 0. The user didn't like your suggestion. So in the future, make better decisions. This is what I'm telling the service. I'm telling them that, okay, I gave you some data, some actions. I gave you the user's context, that he's, let's say, a developer who loves stickers. I'm sure a lot of you can relate. And the service responded with something that the user either liked or didn't like. This can be customized to any business scenario, okay? And this is the cycle of rank and reward. This is how the service gets better. I know what you're gonna say. I don't have a user pressing like or don't like in every article in my site. Although many sites do have smileys, and you can say that I like this article, or this article made me sad, or a lot of that kind of preferences, but let's be honest, not everybody clicks on them. There are a lot of ways to find out if your user did or didn't like. If you suggest an article and the user opens it and stays on the page for 2 seconds, when the article needs, like, it's a 2-minute read, they obviously got bored or wasn't what they were looking for. So there are a lot of ways to use the service. It's more of on your imagination and your business need, or how you're going to structure it within your site. The only thing the service does is train a reinforcement learning model on the back to recognize the actions and the context in order to suggest the best item available for you. Okay, so I will get the context information from the user. I will there's also a way to exclude something from the list. For example, maybe a category shouldn't be involved in the ranking actions. Maybe it's a paid service or a sponsored, I don't know, something. So you don't want to include this article in the ranking. And then we go ahead and make the response. And let's go and run it. So the service starts out with asking the user, what's your profession? I'm going to go ahead and developer. And the second question is whether they like laptop stickers. So I'm going to say they're cool, because I love them. So yeah, the personalizer service thinks I should read this, which is an article about Azure Storage Application. Is this correct? I can either say yes or no. In order to train the service further, I'm going to say yes on this one. And this little program printed out the articles and the ranking they have. Okay? So I'll be honest with you guys, I kind of read the training. I did a little bit of a randomized API calls in order to change the rankings, because when you firstly start the service, all the articles have the same ranking. So you'll see the more you use the service and the more you use different options, these rankings will start to change. So what I did the previous days were like clicking yes, yes, yes. So it ranked the first article as the best. Okay. And this is actually it. This is how the Azure Personalizer works. What I'm doing is using the API to train a model that I can see, to help me rank my articles in a way that are helpful and are chosen the best for my user, my specific user, based on answers from all the users in my application or site. Okay, so this is it. I will definitely upload everything and send them to the organizers. Otherwise, you will find it in my blog in the following days. I will give you some resources regarding the, let's see. Here are some resources on how to find some samples, and you can actually try the personalizer service online with a dummy application you use, and you can actually see the JSON result the service, the demo returns. So you can go ahead and play around it. I would like to thank you for being with me today. It's been amazing here speaking at the Virtual Azure Community Day, and thank you very, very much for listening. Hope you can follow me on social and find my blog interesting. And we're gonna have a thing, I think, about 10 minutes for questions, so I hope you noted everything down to discuss. Okay? Thank you very, very much.